everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Together, we are Kenny and Renny, and this is the Kenny and Renny post-game show after a 6-5 loss to the Vegas Golden Knights, a game I am very much kind of divided on. I'm not sure what to think about that. There's certain things that I really liked about this game, certain things I didn't like about this game. I will say this is another game in which I think an opponent first started with Washington. It happened again here tonight where the Jets' aggression was turned against them. We'll dig into that a little bit deeper, but I posed that question to the head coach, Rick Bowness, about that. He admitted that was the case. We'll dig a little bit deeper, but there's something off right now in their pressure game. That's what I was seeing. He sees the same thing as well. They don't quite have their players in the right spots, and that's the deal with playing that pressure game. Is you kind of have to set up a fence if you want to get everyone down and kind of pressure. And if there's a hole in the fence, it gives a spot for you to float those pucks through. And when you do that, especially if you get a team that's as fast and as engaged as Washington was the other night and Vegas was tonight, that's why you're seeing all those opportunities where Vegas was getting in behind the Jets defenders. One of the things I didn't like about this game, there were so many grade A chances, especially early in that first period. In the second period, when there were 5 shots in the game, I think there had been 5 opportunities where Vegas had a defender an offensive player in behind the Jets defenders. So something is breaking out there at this stage. Rick Bowness has said as much. They're going to need to fix it because that is the blueprint right now. I think we talk so much about what the Jets' blueprint is. Their blueprint is a little bit off, but the blueprint I think I've seen in these last couple of games to beat the Winnipeg Jets is to use their aggression against them. That was happening against Washington. We saw that happen here again tonight, and that's why you're seeing so many goals scored against a team that coming into this game was still third in the NHL at goals allowed. They're still a very good defensive team, but Rick Bowness said it this morning, and he's right. They're trending in the wrong direction defensively. Now, it's interesting because Jeff Hamilton, our guy Hammy, was pointing out that I think it's since November 26th or something like that, no team had more goals in the NHL than the Winnipeg Jets. So it looked like the perfect kind of storm here of the Jets defense, their new defensive blueprint under Rick Bowness, starting to work with the offense as well. But all of a sudden that offense is getting going and the defense is starting to fall by the wayside. That balance, trying to add offense into the game while maintaining the defense, it's definitely being tested. It's being bent a little bit and maybe broken on a couple of nights here. One thing I really did like about the Jets game here tonight, though, is I thought the neutral zone was being won by the Vegas Golden Knights. I thought it was another game in which the Jets' game plan was being turned against them. But one thing I really liked was they got back into this game in a very specific way. Now, the Vegas Golden Knights are beat up on the back end. They're missing Shea Theodore. They're missing Zach Whitecloud. They're missing Alex Pietrangelo, missing your top 3 defensemen. That's a tough go. So what did the Jets do? Well, they weren't able to break through the neutral zone the way that Vegas was playing and kind of get those odd man rushes. But I love what they did and what you saw them do in the game. They fought their way back into the game by going and out-muscling, out-manning, creating chaos against those secondary players who are coming in to spell off the losses of all those players for the Vegas Golden Knights. And, Mark Scheifele's goal, phenomenal. I'll dig into that later. But the one thing that I saw in this game is first goal, second goal, third goal are all shots from the point that get converted either with a tip or with a rebound. And even the fourth goal, which is a power play goal, is created from, I believe it was Kevin Stenlund drawing the penalty, driving to get to the front of the net. The Jets won the battle in front of the net tonight, and that's what allowed them to get back into that game. They didn't pass the puck into the back of the net. They went and did the hard battles. Again, we'll dig in more because I loved Scheifele's goal. There's some subtleties to it I want to talk about. But overall, I thought there was a good game plan to get the Jets back into the game, but this is a night where I see the blueprint that the Jets are trying to get to. They're not able to get to it, and it's a fast, rugged, speedy team that has interrupted their rhythm for the second straight game. I said it after the last game, the Jets losing to the Washington Capitals, I don't think it was a bad thing. I think they needed a little bit. Sorry, I don't think they needed that, but a humbling experience is not necessarily a bad thing. 2 humbling experiences in a row. I think this is most definitely a wake-up call for the Winnipeg Jets. Rick Bowness wanted to see how his team responded tonight. I think it will be very important how they respond in their next game coming up against the Nashville Predators. That's what I saw quickly out of the gate before we start digging into the bones of all of this. Of course, I want to hear what you have to say about everything, and I definitely want to hear what my main man, Ken Weeb, has to say about the whole thing. So I'm going to bring him in here, the man with the best music in the business. Here comes Kenny. Kenny, my man, looking great as usual. We didn't send out the memo, but we definitely got things. We didn't get the wires crossed today. I've got my new suit on here from the boys of Vittorio Rossi. Frankie gave me very specific instructions. You take this suit, you put it with this shirt, and you slap on this tie, and everything's put together. I think he's right. Good stuff by Frankie and the boys over at Vittorio Rossi. And if you want to look like Kenny and Renny, why don't you head on down to Corden Avenue and go see the boys at Vittorio Rossi yourself. Frank takes all the guesswork out of it. If you don't know a lot about suits, it's the place to go. If you do know a lot about suits, it is definitely the place to go, because you'll walk in there and it is just an absolute paradise for gentlemen who like the finer things in life, especially the way they dress. So go see Frank and the boys at Vittorio Rossi. They'll do you up good. Ken, how are you doing tonight?
Tremendous, thanks. Yeah, that is a sharp-looking suit, no doubt about that. We both got our brand new Frank specials going here for sure. Interesting tilt, as you mentioned. Very gutsy performance from the visitors, a team that was playing without 3 top-end defensemen, 3 of their top 6 scorers. They're missing their leading scorer in Jack Eichel as well. So, I think a lot of fans thought the Jets would just roll over this team because they were missing so many important cogs to the puzzle. But gutsy effort. The special teams, once again, very good for the Vegas Golden Knights. In terms of the Jets, I don't think it was a lackluster performance, Sean, but I do think there were some things missing. I think you touched on them. I think that we should say right out of the gate, Rick Bowness did say there were a few IVs required. They've got a little of a bug rolling through the room. I don't think that was not an excuse. It was just, it was first in reference to a question that I had. We were very curious, at least on our side of the press box, Sean, on the print folks side, when Pierre-Luc Dubois was skipped for a couple of rotations. Didn't have a shift from, I think, 4:06 until, there were about 8-10 minutes left, maybe 10 and a half, maybe closer to 8. He was under the weather, sick, so he did get out late, got an assist on the Scheifele late goal, the extra attacker goal. But the Jets were not their sharpest. One thing, Sean, in addition to maybe their aggression getting the best of them, I thought that they had trouble on their forecheck, at least in the first period, especially in the last 5 to 6 minutes when Vegas really took it to them in terms of the shot clock. The Jets did a little better job, as you mentioned, of sort of trying to go at some of the call-ups on the back end for Vegas. But boy, oh boy, Chandler Stevenson getting the speed going. You asked Rick Bowness directly, and one of the plays he referenced, without mentioning Neil Pionk by name, Chandler Stevenson just blew by him on that one break. Riley Smith had a breakaway as well that Connor Hellebuyck was able to turn aside. But the Jets were a little bit sluggish in terms of their defensive responsibilities. They're high guy, and it's something they got to do better. They got to tighten things up. There's no doubt. You mentioned too the scoring has been up, but their defensive play has been a little bit lackluster. And Connor Hellebuyck is the backbone of this NHL, this Jets team, this NHL team. He's been one of the Vezina leaders, but he was a little bit off tonight. I think he was screened on several of those goals. Yeah. He was screened, but there were a couple he would like probably to have back. A couple of big, juicy rebounds that were able to be converted. And, yeah, I mean, the Jets did not play their best. They did a nice job of getting the first goal from Mark Scheifele. They went up 4-3, but they were unable to hold the lead against a team that was banged up a little bit and still found a way to get it done. Just the second time this year. I know some folks will have the pitchforks out. But for me, I mean, the Jets losing, it's just like you said. I mean, a little bit of this season needed some tension for the Jets. I'm sure, Rick Bowness isn't in there saying losses are good, but I think we're going to learn something about the Jets on Thursday, right? So on Thursday, the Jets will play another team that is banged up on the back end. They will play a divisional opponent that is a little bit up and down. Their Vezina Trophy candidate is rocking a 306 goals against average and a lackluster save percentage. Sean, in UC Saros, who's been unbelievable now the last couple of seasons, he's been struggling. And we'll see how but he's a guy that can steal games. So the Jets, they don't want to lose 3 in a row. This is only the second time they've lost 2 in a row. So let's see how they respond this time. I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but lots to learn about the Jets. Next test is Thursday.
Sorry, I'm going to get this because I can see where this is trending. Ryan Friesen, you're calling other people out as fake fans in the room. Figure it out. We're not doing that. You don't attack other fans in the chat room. That's not what this space is about. Like, seriously, bud, figure it out. Find a way to interact with people in here in a calm and respectful way, or you're gone, bud. Hey, get to the Lamplighter, my man. What was your Lamplighter on the night?
Yeah, for me, I think it's the power play goal by Scheifele. It's the cross-ice feed, just a sensational pass by Kyle Connor. Somebody said up top it was kind of reminiscent of a Wheeler to Line one-timer, and great shot by Scheifele. There was not a lot of room on the blocker side of Aiden Hill. That was an outstanding, one-timer, and he ripped it, and Hill could not do anything about it. That was a great pass and an excellent finish by someone who is now up to 18 goals on the season, Sean. That's his 6th career hat trick. And, Mark Scheifele continues to deliver. I think people said the Dubois line was not really rolling the way we've seen them go a lot this year. I thought that Scheifele was rolling, Perfetti was rolling. Blake Wheeler had a couple of chances. But overall, I think that was a brilliant pass on the power play, and the combination platter of the pass and the finish makes that my Lamplighter of the game.
You know what I think was my Lamplighter of the game, and I'm going to get into this because we talked about this a little earlier on, but that first goal of the game is subtly a brilliant, gritty goal from Mark Scheifele that a lot of people wouldn't really give him the credit for. And sorry, I'm just going to do this before. Sorry. So it goes to the back. Goes to the back end. One, is there maybe anyone at this stage, given the assists that he's been putting up and the amount of times those assists have come just like that from shots from the point, is there anyone who is getting the puck to the net as dangerous with not the blast shot, but just like the wrister to the net than Josh Morrissey is right now? So getting him the puck in that situation, I don't know why, but they win that draw. Blake Wheeler gets it over to Josh Morrissey. And right away I'm thinking danger because I'm so used to Josh Morrissey making something happen in these situations. But Mark Scheifele wins that draw. And then what he does is he sees a defender there. And you'll notice he doesn't go to try and park himself in front of the net. He sees the defender and he skates at the defender and he pushes the defender out of the shooting lane. So he uses his body to take the player who's in a position to stop the puck from getting the puck to the net and pushes him out of the way to clear the shooting lane, then rolls on him, puts his back to him, creating a fence so that that player can't get there to defend that. And in creating that fence, opens up his stick for Josh Morrissey to hit. Josh Morrissey throws it on net, and it is one of those deflections, Ken, that it's like, this is, again, I love using this word, but it's cerebral. Like, this is a deflection that entirely changes direction. This is what Mark Scheifele is trying to do. He's trying to take that puck, which is heading towards, I believe it was the goaltender's glove side, and totally throw it going the other way at his blocker side, and he pulls it off. I love that goal because it's the kind of goal that Mark Scheifele is capable of and has been capable of for most of his career, because he's big, because he's strong, because he's got hockey IQ, because he's got great hands. But we haven't seen a lot of that kind of goal from him, because he scores most of his goals how he scored the second and third goal of the game, where he kind of finds quiet ice and tries to get lost and then get the pass. I don't have a problem with that kind of goal, but I also think that those kind of goals start to disappear more and more in the playoffs. I can't think of how many times a puck got passed to someone way on the wing and put in the back of the net in the playoffs last year or in the later rounds of the playoffs. I don't remember it happening once in that series that you and I covered in the Stanley Cup final between the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the ability to score the kind of goals that he scored the first time, I think, bodes well for Mark Scheifele, in his chase for 50 goals, which he's on pace for at this stage, because you heard everyone talk about Alex Ovechkin. He doesn't just score on the one-timer. He goes and he gets those gritty goals. I love seeing Mark Scheifele score those gritty goals because he's good at it. I'd like to see him do it more often. But B, I just take a look at that play, and that is three guys entirely on the same page. Mark Scheifele wins the draw. Blake Wheeler knows exactly where to get the puck to. Josh Morrissey knows how to hold on to that puck long enough for Scheifele to do what he does, and when Scheifele does it, he puts the puck where only Scheifele can get his stick on it, and Scheifele creates a scenario where only he can get his stick on it. Brilliant play. I love it. That's the Lamplighter. And hey, if you want to get in on the Lamplighter action, just let us know what your Lamplighter of the game was, and you'll be entered for a chance to win a frosty, delicious 8-pack of Trans-Canada Brewing Company Lamplighter Amber Ale. Just tell us what your goal of the game is, your Lamplighter of the game, and you will be entered to win the Lamplighter Amber Ale 8-pack. And if you can't wait for us to hand that out, well, head on down to Trans-Canada Brewing Company. Join them in their tap room at 1290 Kenniston. That's where you go for that. That's where we're going to be going, Ken. I'm so excited this Sunday for the Kenny and Renny Christmas party. I'm looking forward to it. I'm pumped up. You need to know January 21st. If you didn't get in on this one, we're going to do it all over again, except it's going to be a Saturday night, which means people are going to get that much more out of control, I am sure, on the 21st. So start marking that off on your calendar. And now it's time to announce our Lamplighter winner from last show. And the Lamplighter winner in the chat room was Donnie Boy. I don't think I've seen Donnie Boy in here yet. So Donnie Boy, you are officially on the clock to claim your 8-pack of Trans-Canada Brewing Company Lamplighter Amber Ale, delicious and frosty. You just got to direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. I need your full name. Unless your last name is Boy. I'm thinking it's Donald something. That's my guess. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. But yeah, I need your full name, and I need an email for me to send you the voucher so you can claim your frosty, delicious Lamplighter Amber Ale. Congratulations, Donnie Boy, but you got to get the job done before you can celebrate. Ken, let's move it along and go for our Johnston Group Got You Covered play of the game.
Yeah, for me, it's the penalty that you talked about it with Rick Bowness, the ability to get to the net and create chaos. So for me, it was the David Gustafsson getting to the net and forcing Alec Martinez to take the slashing minor, which led to the Scheifele one-timer goal that gave the Jets their last lead in this game at 4-3. It was an interesting night for Gustafsson, obviously having to move to the wing. We know he's willing and able to play anywhere, but he's a guy who's played center for a really long time, and he was asked to move to the wing after the recall of Kevin Stenlund. We'll get into that in a little bit, but to me, Gustafsson once again showing his smarts, doing what he does, makes small, little, subtle plays that don't necessarily end up on the score sheet but have an impact in the game. And that play there by Gustafsson to get to the net and draw the penalty that led to the go-ahead goal from Mark Scheifele is my We've Got You Covered play of the game, brought to you by the OGs at the Johnston Group.
Oh, this is something I should bring up here. Tico Napoli, I don't know what tickets. Tico for the show. Well, you needed to message me and let me know. That's what we've been saying. So you know what, Tico Napoli, if you want to come on the 21st, that would be great. We've been sold out number on this show. It's I guess the lesson here is make sure you don't wait. If you want to come on the 21st, get a hold of me. Let me know. There's no time to waste. I mean, it's only 5 weeks away. So if you want to get in on that action and make sure you don't miss out on that, make sure you message me or Ken, and we'll hook you up to make sure that you get in the next time around. Yeah, I'm all on board with what you got going on there, Ken. And of course, that's the We've Got You Covered play by the Johnson Group, the Kenny and Renny OGs. And you won't find two businesses with the same challenges, but you will find 30,000 businesses with Chambers Plan employee benefits, proudly administered by our friends at Johnson Group. Chambers Plan is Canada's #1 benefits because it evolves with the way you work and live. The plan is run as a not-for-profit designed specifically to support small businesses, and its unique pooling strategy keeps rates stable, so you won't have any surprises at your next renewal. Chambers Plan now comes with professional consulting on key financial, legal, and HR issues, and telemedicine services are included with every health option. See how Chambers Plan can benefit your business by visiting chamberplan.ca. And thank you so much, as always, to the Kenny and Renny OGs, the Johnson Group. Before we go on, Cambrian Credit Union is going to be giving away in this show. We've got another scavenger hunt, the third of their new launch. They gave away Jets tickets once, they gave away Moose tickets another time, and they're going to give away another pair of Moose tickets. I've got a scavenger hunt coming up for you closer to the end of the show, so stick around for that if you want to win tickets. And just so that we know this, Rob Mahoney, if you're out there and listening, you won the tickets last time. You got to direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds so I can pass along your information to the fine people at Cambrian Credit Union, and they will hook you up with the Moose tickets of your choice. Okay, so Rob Mahoney, if anyone out there knows Rob Mahoney, if he's not in the show right now, get a hold of him. He's got tickets just burning a hole in someone's pocket at Cambrian Credit Union. It's a fire hazard there. They got to get it out of there. So Rob, get going there. Okay, Ken, let's move on. I just want to get your quick thoughts on Connor Hellebuyck's night.
Yeah, I didn't particularly think he was all that sharp. But like I said, I think there were a couple of instances where there were screens, self-inflicted screens. I think one of the late one-timers, both Sandberg and Neil Pionk were screening him. I thought that the coverage got a little bit off in certain instances. I didn't like a couple of the rebounds that jumped out. I can assure you that, Connor Hellebuyck hates to lose as it is, but Sean, this is how much, you want to know how much Connor Hellebuyck hated the game this evening himself? He was out of the building by 9:55. When Murat and I were walking back down the hallway, Connor Hellebuyck was already going to his car. So it was a quick shower and an early exit. So to me, that shows me that he was unhappy, both with the result and probably with his own play. He holds himself to an incredibly high standard. I think he probably wouldn't have been happy with what transpired in the game. They had two leads. Obviously, the Jets battled back on a couple of occasions as well. I just didn't think that Connor wasn't sharp. There's really no other way to put it. I wouldn't say he was, exceptionally poor, but he allowed 5 on 32 shots and a couple. Like I said, there were a couple goals that he wouldn't have liked, knowing his intensity level. Sean, what did you see from him? I just think that he was a little bit off. I don't think it was a terrible performance by any stretch. I just think he was a little bit off. I thought earlier in the game he wasn't tracking the puck as well. There were a couple of plays where I wouldn't say he was guessing. It just seemed as though his reads were just slightly off. One of the plays that I think of was, it seemed one of the blocks that William Carrier got knocked a shot. I think it was from Ben Hutton in his arm, and Connor seemed to be going a little bit to the other side. So like I said, I don't think he was sharp. But Sean, we've seen that Connor Hellebuyck before, and what you generally see in the next game is a laser-focused and dialed-in Connor Hellebuyck, and I would expect him to be pretty much lights out on Thursday against the Nashville Predators.
Just before we get too far here, or I think I'm having problems with you hear me, Ken?
Yeah,
here,
you
T-Cone and Paulie, I know that you're trying to get a hold of me. T. Konopoli, just it sounds like you got lots of friends on this show. Just have them direct message me, and then that way we'll take care of that. I'm not going to broadcast my number on the show here right now, even though there's someone from my hockey team who's threatening to do so.
Well, you can also email either one of us. my email is on Twitter too.
For sure.
T. Konopoli, if you need it, just
there you go. There you go. Okay. Hey, to your point, like a mad Connor Hellebuyck is a good Connor Hellebuyck. That's a good thing heading into the next game. I'll say this. Like this should tell you just how good Connor Hellebuyck is at most times. Is that like those 2 goals that he allows tonight? So the Marchessault goal on the power play and the first goal of the game are goals that like. It was a head scratcher, and I was thinking, what happened here? And I was watching the replays, trying to see. I think there was a little bit of a screen, but even in a situation like that, I can't remember whether there were little screens or not. I can't remember Connor Hellebuyck allowing goals like that, and that says something about Connor Hellebuyck, because most goalies, even really good goaltenders for your team, are let in stinkers. You know what I mean? And I thought those were 2 stinker goals. Yeah.
The one I didn't like in particular was how he played the cross ice pass by Stevenson to Mark Stone. Yes. I think it was just a matter of, I think Stevenson kind of might have even fanned on the pass, to be quite frank, but Hellebuyck was in between on which way he should put his paddle down. Like it was one of those where he kind of over pursued Stevenson, but then he was unable to get his stick in the lane. So there was just one of those where it was a little bit off. And even the one, the shot that trickled through his 5-hole that Stevenson was almost, it was just went too far down below the goal line. So to me, it was just, there were a couple things where he wasn't quite as sharp. Maybe there was a little bit more of an opening than we're used to seeing. I think there was probably a screen on the goal by Miromanov, but even then, it was from distance. I mean, Connor generally reacts in time, even if that did go through the guy's legs.
Well, that had a little bit of this action to it,
that's
right?
What I mean.
Like
it may have hit the defenseman's stick, maybe. It just dipped. It was just like I said, those are, when Hellebuyck is dialed in and right, in quotation marks, or Wade Flaherty would say he's right or in the zone, or whatever way you want to use, or whatever phrase you want to use, those are pucks that he stops. He wasn't quite as economical or as big and boring as we have seen in recent weeks and months. Connor Hellebuyck has been the Jets' best player. So there are going to be nights like this, and they are rare, and Jets fans should never, ever forget how rare they are, and don't point the finger at the goaltender or think that it's suddenly going to mean things are going to fall off the rails for Connor Hellebuyck. That simply isn't the case. Look at his body of work. It's been excellent. And, sometimes everyone needs their teammate to pick them up, and today the Jets were not able to pick up Connor Hellebuyck when he did not have his best. There have been plenty of nights when the Jets have not had their best, and Hellebuyck has kind of erased some of the negativity that has happened in front of him.
Well, I just got to say, I mean, it stood out tonight, and the reason it stands out is because he is so ironclad. He rarely ever lets in goals like that. And I still think in a situation like this, he had his chance to put a mark on the game. Like I'd said, out of the first 5 shots of the game, I think there were 4 high-grade scoring opportunities where people got in behind the defenseman.
Oh, yeah.
And he stopped a lot of those. So, like, this is, people are saying, yeah, and I hate that game. I hate we hit the post. It could have been a totally different game. Like I hate that it could have totally been a different game. And I know coaches like to say that, and I get why they say it, because they're trying to keep their players engaged and be like, well, no, that game's not as bad as you think. But I hate that game because, like, if you think about this tonight, the way that Connor Hellebuyck was stopping pucks and in tight chances, that could have been a 9-goal game against the Winnipeg Jets, the way things were going, the way that they scored 6. So Connor Hellebuyck still gave the Jets an opportunity in this game and bailed them out in a lot of the parts of the game where they weren't high. So he demands perfection of himself. He wasn't perfect tonight. He was far from perfect on a couple of plays. You talked about him cheating on that one play. I think that's what happened with the Marchessault goal on the power play, which was an important goal, right? Like it looks like he's cheating to kind of cover the far post, expecting a pass, and you could see it in Marchessault's recognition. All of a sudden, he had the puck, and he looked like he had no intention of shooting. And then all of a sudden you could see in that moment he saw something and then just whipped that puck. And boom, it was in the net. So that's a goal scorer's goal, where you just notice something is off about the way the goaltender is playing something and throw it in there. And he caught Connor Hellebuyck, no doubt about it. Connor Hellebuyck doesn't get caught often, but I think this is even on a night where Connor Hellebuyck gets caught, he still gives his team an opportunity to be in that game and win that game. So I don't think there's anything that can be said about Connor Hellebuyck and being upset with the way that he plays. Before we go on, I want you to give a shout out to our main man, Sweet Lou.
Yes, sir. For all of the folks either watching live on YouTube or listening on the podcast, if you are in the market for anything that is real estate related, if you're buying, if you're selling, if you're looking for values in your neighborhood or a neighborhood you may be considering moving to, you can contact our main man, Lou Furlan, at Royal LePage Dynamic Realty. His number 204-791-9971 or the office line 204-989-5000. Lou's email, lou@loufurlan.ca. That's lou at loufurlan.ca, and it's www.loufurlan.ca. Lou's a great supporter of athletics in this community. He is an unbelievable realtor and all-around great human being. So if you're looking for anything in the real estate market, Lou's your guy. Helping you is what we do. And tell him Kenny and Renny sent you. Looks like we may have lost Sean as well. So some folks have been asking about Carson Kuhlman. He was picked up on waivers by the Jets today from the Seattle Kraken. And I've been doing a little research on him during the course of the day. And what we were able to find out about Carson Kuhlman is he is a energetic forward. I think he's about 5'10". Plays hard, plays with a lot of energy. I would say, oh, there you are. You're back, Sean. Good stuff.
Yeah, sorry.
Welcome back. No,
I don't know what's going on with this.
Connection's a little tight, so no worries. Just talking about Carson Kuhlman here. I would say he's probably a similar player to Dominic Toninato. Right-handed version. He can play the wing. He can play center. Maybe, people have asked, is he, what kind of skater is he? They asked around a little bit. I would say he's not a burner. I would say maybe, I'm not sure he's a great skater, but I don't think he's slow either. He's a guy that can, I'm not sure how he is in the face-off circle. We'll have a quick look at that here before the show is over. But, somebody that I talked to said he'd be, kind of an ideal kind of 13th forward. We know that Rick Bowness has not been thrilled with the fourth line. He made those comments quite clear prior to the game today. And, I don't think Kuhlman will jump in immediately. I think if Kevin Stenlund may have struggled tonight, maybe he would have gone in on Thursday. But I would say that based on the game that Stenlund had. And one last thing about him, he's a very high character individual. He played 4 years at the University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs. 2 of those years, Sean, he was an alternate captain. One of those years, Dominic Toninato was the captain, and when Dominic Toninato graduated, Sean, he became the captain of the UMD Bulldogs. So a guy who's been a leader in the past. He's a high character individual and, kind of a guy that can bounce between being the 12th or 13th forward, and we'll see where things go. Axel Jonsson-Fjällby was the healthy scratch today. And that meant that, Sam Gagner was kind of on notice. I thought Sam responded with a big effort. It's an important goal for him. Thought he was a little bit more involved in the game. That was his fourth goal of the year, but first in a broken 18-game drought. That's a long time. You could tell by his reaction and celebration that it meant a lot to him. He was a little bit dismissive of when I asked him directly about Stenlund being recalled and put in, and when a player is placed on waivers or picked up on waivers, what it means to those others in the competition. He said, hey, he basically said, you are as a player in that situation, you're always trying to help the team win, so you can't worry. Or basically Sam said, Sean, tell me if I'm wrong. Sam basically said, I can't afford to be looking over my shoulder. I have to be cognizant of there being competition for me, but I can't waste any time looking over my shoulder and worrying about someone trying to steal my job, because there's been someone trying to steal my job for the last 10 years or so. So I actually kind of like the answer. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for necessarily, but I like the answer that he gave. And then quickly on Stenlund, some folks have been asking. I actually quite liked Stenlund's game. Like I said, I was a bit surprised that he was used at center, but Rick Bowness has been unhappy with the face-offs. 57% for Kevin Stenlund this evening in the circle. I thought he made some really smart plays. He had some really good cycle shifts. He was very patient with the puck behind the net on a couple occasions, kept a couple cycles going. He's a big body. He doesn't play overly physical, but I liked his game. I thought he was moving around pretty well. We know that he had a knee injury last year that required surgery. I asked him this morning if he felt as though he had his legs back, and he has felt really solid with the Manitoba Moose. He had a really good start to the season there, and I thought he earned himself another chance, Sean. We've talked about this all year long. When players have played well, generally they've stayed in the lineup. I think he did enough to stay in the lineup at a time when the Jets were looking for more on that fourth line. In terms of Kuhlman, when he's going to get in, we'll have to see about that, and we'll see what he brings. He's a guy that hasn't brought a lot of offense in terms of his game. I know at the American League level, I think he had 1 year where there was a double-digit goal-scoring year with the Providence Bruins back in 2018-19, 12 goals, 30 points in 58 games. But even in college, 2 years where he was a double-digit goal scorer, but never more than 22 points in 40 games. So he's not going to be the answer in terms of producing a lot of offense, but he's a guy that plays hard and is maybe going to provide some energy. So again, this is just a kind of one of those Band-Aid solutions as the Jets try to circle through some of those guys in the competition. In terms of Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, yes, he's fast, but he hasn't been getting a whole lot accomplished in terms of the offensive game, and I thought it was quite telling that in recent days he hasn't been used on the penalty kill. I mean, he's the guy who, one of the reasons they said they brought him over is because Scott Arniel had used him in the penalty kill situation. He's done it for a bit of this year, but not as much recently. So I'm not saying he's out of favor, but I'm saying that his job is in, I think his job overall is in danger. I'm not sure he's in danger of being waived anytime soon. The Jets don't have any players coming back in the short term here. So, but he definitely needs to provide a little bit more. It's either got to be better offense or better retrievals, or we know he provides speed, but I mean we'll see what he can do in the big picture here. And somebody asking here, 5'10" is okay if he can scrap like Rick Rippon. 21 career penalty minutes for Carson Kuhlman. So I am not expecting him to be dropping the gloves anytime soon. This is a guy who doesn't take a lot of penalties going back to 2014-15. So I don't think, that leads me to believe, that he's not an overly physical presence. But, we'll see what he has. And if it doesn't work out for him, then he'll be back on waivers. So we'll see what happens in that front. What do you think of Stenlund, Sean? I mean, he's a guy that I noticed out there anyway today. Well,
first I just got to say, I think you got some popcorn shrimp crumbs on your face there, because that was one heck of a trip to the buffet there. That's good stuff, though. That's what we're here for. We like that. Look, if people are upset with Stenlund tonight, I don't know what more you're asking for. I mean, this is a player who's come up, gets an assist in his first game. I didn't think he looked out of place at all. I think he gave you everything that you were looking for. He seemed to really, really know the Jets system, and of course he's going to know the system because the Manitoba Moose operate under the same system, so that when players come up, it's easy to just plug and play. But boy, oh boy, plug and play is easier than it sounds. There was a number of times where what Rick Bowness had said that has been this team's problem lately, the 3F being down a little bit too low, not being on the high side of the guy. From what I saw tonight, he was always on the high side of his guy. He came in and played the defensive game, I thought, that Rick Bowness wanted from him to a T, still find a way to contribute offensively, create some havoc in the offensive zone. He's just another one in a long line of these players who steps up at the right time and makes it happen here. So I don't have an issue with that. Kuhlman, I got to say this, boy, oh boy, whoever the scout is who goes and is in Duluth looking at players, he needs to get a bonus, because he has turned how many players off that team into Winnipeg Jets with his suggestions for this team. And you can see I love Rick Bonus's honesty in situations like this. And one area where we saw that was with Axel Janssen Fialbi. I asked him about Axel Janssen Fialbi and like how he had, like the confidence to bring him in. And he's like, I didn't know anything about the guy. Arneal did. Arneal said he'd be great in the system. So you got to trust your guy. So here he comes, right? Well, this is another situation. He knows nothing about Carson Kuhlman. Absolutely nothing. But he trusts the scouts. He's going to figure out what he has here, try and see where he can put him. To me, this move is just another sign that the Jets aren't taking the big swing that you want, Ken. And I would argue the majority of the people in our chat room want as well. I think they want action. I spent some time on Twitter earlier on today. People know my stance on this, and I had to defend my stance on it. This is just another sign to me that they're saving everything up for the big swing at the trade deadline, which I think they should do. So
Bad mood, Blake, with the beauty right there. I was actually looking at Kenny's face for popcorn shrimp crumbs. That's a good one. That's a good one, folks.
There we go.
It's a good one.
They were serving it in the press box tonight. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see from them, but I'm confident enough in Rick Bonus's system, his analysis of players, that he's going to find a way to use them properly. I mean, Sam Gagner is a player that I know I know very specific people in the chat room who haven't liked Sam Gagner and don't like what he's done here. And yet Sam Gagner tonight, as he did in other nights, has found a way to put his imprint on the game at specific times. Rick Bonus says he likes timely scoring. Well, he's come out with timely scoring time and time again. Did it win them the game tonight? No, it didn't. But what you're like, remember this. Sam Gagner is a league minimum player, right? Like they brought him in. What are you expecting? Like, are you expecting to run a company and have the guy that you pay the least to be the guy that makes, creates all the company success? He's not paid to create all the success. He's done what he's getting paid for. He's done already. That doesn't mean that there's space to move him out and move other players in. And you know what? I'm still listening to the argument of whether or not people should bring someone in right now. I'm not panicking that the Jets just lost 2 games, because they lost 2 games against a Washington team that is, has the wherewithal to pull off a game like that, and a game tonight where the Jets had some sickness in the room there. Now, let's not discount what the Vegas Golden Knights are going through, but let's say this, Ken, the Vegas Golden Knights came rolling through last year, and they were a garbage fire. So what has been done with them and the turnaround that they've had under Bruce Cassidy?
Well, a lot of injuries, though, too, right? They had a lot of injuries when they rolled through town.
For sure, but I didn't like what I saw from that team. This is a team that had a lot of injuries here tonight as well. We know that their season was waylaid by injuries last year, but I didn't like what I was seeing by the end from Pete DeBoer's Vegas Golden Knights. I liked what I saw. And you know what, Ken? We never talked about it before the show. I actually wanted to have the conversation with you, but I wanted to see from the Vegas Golden Knights what they looked like challenged when they're injury strapped, because what you'll see from good teams is that they'll still play to a structure, and they may not capitalize as much on goals, but they'll play to a structure. And I thought Vegas achieved that structure. They were a hard team to beat tonight, no matter who was in the lineup, because they're playing the right way. That's been the Winnipeg Jets this year with their bottom 6 and the way that they've been able to roll players in and out of the lineup. So I thought it was a good battle between those two teams. I still am okay with where the Winnipeg Jets are at. They've only lost 2 games. I'm not ringing the alarm bell. I know a lot of people out there are. They're in a good spot. Yeah, they got passed by the Dallas Stars tonight, but they've got 2 games in hand. Yeah, they lost a game on the Vegas Golden Knights. They still have 3 games in hand. If they win those next 3 games in hand, they're still tied for first in the conference. So, I don't know. I'm not going to tell people to pump the brakes.
Have some perspective. That's the point.
Yeah, there's no reason to panic here right now. They're going to get into Christmas. They're in a tough grind of the schedule. Let's see what they look like after that. And then we're that much closer to Nick Ehlers coming back. And by the way, had a conversation. Sounds like Nick Ehlers is about to get on the ice right away.
What he said on the post game with Sarah. She was on
Sarah talked with me, and so it sounds like he's about to get on the ice. They're not going to rush him back with that injury, but when I ran into him at the airport when he was going down to Detroit for surgery, he told me it was supposed to be 6 weeks. I'm sure that's an optimistic player saying I could be back as early as 6 weeks. Maybe it could be a little bit longer, but I'm in no area to panic right now. I like what I'm seeing. I like what I saw from Stenlund. Jansen Harkins, we should talk about him because he had another great night here tonight. But we should get into some of our things we got to do here. Let's get into our home field comment of the game. This is yes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Home field. Let's bring this up. But we're looking for dig deeper comments here. I like this one by Rob Somerville because I think this is the heart of what's plagued the Jets the last couple of games. Rob Somerville says, "I'm curious as to how the Vegas players were able to so easily get in behind the Jets forwards and defense." Even for a team that has, like the pinching off a little bit in the 3F, a little bit too low, Ken. That was the explanation that we got from their head coach. I still thought it happened far too often and was surprised the Jets weren't able to adjust in game to stop it from happening. You expect it to happen 2 or 3 times. It just seemed like it was happening almost at will for points of the game. Finishing off Rob Somerville's comments here, the Knights definitely know how to execute the stretch pass to perfection. I thought the perfect example of that was the Stone pass to, was it Marchessault who Pionk got the high stick on? He got in behind him, or was it Carlson? I can't remember which of those two players Pionk took the penalty on, but that created the power play that ended up in the goal that kind of broke this game open. So great comment here
Kessel,
by Rob.
I think it was Kessel, wasn't it?
Oh, was it Kessel?
I'll double check here. Sorry.
I thought it was Marchessault again. Anyway, Rob Somerville, you win the dig deeper comment of the game. As it was Kessel. Okay, as sponsored by Home Field. Ken, you want to give them a bit of a shout out?
Yes, you bet. Home Field for marketing and more. You could reach them at myhomefield.ca. That's www.myhomefield.ca for marketing and more.
Great to have them on board. Let's get into this now because we've got 14 minutes. We got to get these. Yeah, we got to get these the last of this in. So Cambrian, if you haven't noticed, they've launched a new website and a new online banking, and it is absolutely great. Super easy to use. Ken and I know that because we are both members of Cambrian Credit Union, and we do our banking with them. We've got mortgages with them. Super easy to use these new tools. And in launching their new website, they wanted to have a little bit of a celebration on Kenny and Renny. So they already gave away Jets tickets. They already gave away Moose tickets. Rob Mahoney, you got to get a hold of me. They now want to give away one last pair of Moose tickets to a Moose game of your choice. In order to do that, you got to go on a scavenger hunt, and this will be the final scavenger hunt. And what you need to do is name one of Cambrian's 5 core values found on the mission page at cambrian.mb.ca. So go to cambrian.mb.ca, go to their mission page, and there are 5 correct answers. You just got to give us one of the 5. Throw it in the chat room. First one to do it is going to win those Moose tickets. Ken, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Jets' ability to get to the front of the net, how they created all their offense tonight, other than that last Scheifele goal. I'm going to cruise the comment section here. You give me your thoughts on how they're pulling that off.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously that had something to do with the players that were out out of the Vegas lineup. But there was a will. There was a willingness to get to the blue paint for sure. Rick Bowness wasn't thrilled about it early, but I think the Jets were much better at it in the second and third periods for sure. Braden McNabb is a guy who makes it awfully tough to get to the front of the net.
Just hold on one second. Ding, ding, ding. Hey, I wish I had my gong in the background, but T. Mackey got there faster than everybody. Lightning. Oh, wait. Hold on a sec. No, Rob Mahoney. God, no, Ian Bloomberg. Let me just make sure I get this right. Okay, Ian Bloomberg is first in with... No, trust is not in there. So that is not the right answer. So then we move to Rob Mahoney, who already has tickets and has won them again. He is quick on the draw with integrity and honesty. Cambrian Credit Union. They have 5 core values. Those core values are integrity and honesty, member-focused, competitive, community involvement, and innovative spirit. Rob Mahoney, you got to get a hold of me because you have... What a trigger finger on this guy, eh? Rob Mahoney, way to go. I thought that T. Mackey had it here at first, but just beat out by Rob Mahoney. Great job, Rob. You got to get a hold of me. Send a direct message to SN Sean Reynolds. Give me your information. I'm going to pass it along. And now you've got 4 tickets to 2 separate pairs of tickets to a game of your choice to go see the Manitoba Moose play. Congratulations, and we really appreciate you being there back then when we handed the first pair out, and still being here, Rob Mahoney. We have a ton of appreciation for you and all the Kenny and Renny chat room users like you who are always spending your time with us. We really appreciate it. Ken, continue on with the way the Jets are getting a ton of their offense this year by getting players to the front of the net. How are they carving out that space?
Yeah, I mean, it's a willingness, right? I mean, it's a mentality and a willingness, and I think what we saw, one of the great examples, Dylan Sandberg's shot that was tipped in by Sam Gagner. That was Dylan with the shot, I think, right? Sorry, what do we got here? Sam Gagner. Yeah, Brendan Dillon took that one.
Brendan Dillon.
Sam
it was
also,
the same.
Dylan Sandberg also had the similar play, right?
Where a floater, yeah. But boy, oh boy, let's. I mean, one of the things that is working right now is I talked about Josh Morrissey's ability to get that puck through, and the Jets clearing a lane for him. But Dylan Sandberg pulled that same shimmy shake move that he got his first NHL goal with the other game to open up that shooting lane. That's a big league shimmy shake he's starting to show there, because you could see the defender got absolutely thrown for a loop on that. Methinks, Ken, this is going to be a shimmy and shake that is going to bring the Jets and Dylan Sandberg success for a lot of years to come.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's something that he needs to have in his game. And what we should say, too, that was on the Morgan Barron goal that Sandberg was able to get that cooking. And it was tipped on the way in by Adam Lowry. Originally, we thought it was a direct shot, and then Barron stuck with it and buried his own rebound. But it also touched Lowry on the way in. Adam Lowry now up to 7 goals and 18 points in 28 games. So I hate to say I told you so, but for all the folks that were saying Adam Lowry's a fourth-line player, I have not heard that very often this year, and for good reason. It's because he isn't one. He is doing what he needed to do, which was produce more offense in that checking line role, and he has held up his end of the bargain and then some this year with his production that's been going along with his physical play. Man, he had a couple of big hits again today, Sean, on the forecheck, and doing a nice job. He led all Jets in the face-off dot again today. I think he was at 63%. He won 12 out of 19. So just a willingness, right? It becomes a mentality. The Jets know you're not going to score from distance overly often. In the NHL, I mean, goalies are too good. You're going to have traffic. You're going to have to create chaos around the net, and they've shown a willingness to get to those areas. And once again, Sean, they can't just be a team that scores on the rush. So the job that they did getting to the blue paint is important, and it was very valuable for them on this evening. I'd like to shift gears to the defense here. I know we only have about 8 minutes left.
Hold on. I just want to throw a little something else in there. So one of the things that the Jets are having a lot of success at is they're throwing waves of potential puck tips, right? So what they're doing is, especially when they have time to set up and they're firing that puck, they're getting a guy in the high slot with the potential to tip the puck, and they're getting a guy right down close in front of the net with the potential to tip the puck. And what it is it's just a crazy amount of chaos, because if you're the goaltender and you're focused in on the potential first guy tipping the puck, when it gets past that, your natural reaction is to start to prepare to get the shot. And then if the second layer of player trying to tip the puck gets that, there's no response to that, right? So it just creates all kinds of confusion. And the other part about that is if you've got those 2 layers, it's 2 potential screens as well. So the Jets are getting not only to the hard area in front of the net, but the hard area in the high slot. And to me, it's just a simple matter. And this is one of the things where I kind of take contention with people who say like the Jets can't hang with bigger, stronger, fast teams. Is they're right now, like where it matters most to be big is to carve out that area in front of the net and in the slot. And the Jets are doing that because they're strong enough to do it, right? And like that's, I think, the main reason Lowry and Saku-Menelainen and those kind of players are having the success that they're having this year, because they're just out muscling other players. And again, we saw Mark Scheifele do it here tonight. Mark Scheifele could always do it. We just didn't see him do it a lot. Blake Wheeler is maybe the Jets' best net front player this year. Well, at 6'5" and 220, 25, 230, whatever he is, he's going to be a hard body to move. It's a commitment to getting to the front of the net that is creating that this year. But it's also the idea of like Pionk. If he gets a chance to shoot the puck, he's shooting the puck Nate Schmidt, for the most part, he's doing it. Brendan Dillon, you saw him do it here tonight. Josh Morrissey, like I said, is maybe the best defenseman in the league at doing it right now. And Dylan Sandberg is breaking out this shimmy and shake that, like I said, is going to be a key for this Jets team for years, I believe. That's 5 of your 6 defensemen. Now, I know Dylan DeMello hasn't scored in a really long time. He's not necessarily the guy who's doing that. But if you've got 5 of 6 defensemen who are able and in a mindset to get that puck to the net, and you've got strong forwards who are going to the net and creating havoc and creating space, you're going to get what you get. You usually don't get that many goals in a game, Ken, based on shots from the point, but the Jets are turning that shot from the point in nothing plays into a very, very dangerous tool this year, and it's something that, like this is what I'm talking about. I talked in the past about those kind of snake charmer goals that Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele always like to score. Those goals disappear in the playoffs. The kind of goals that you saw the Jets score tonight don't. And that's important because we all want the Jets to have a great regular season, and clearly everyone's invested in them finishing first in the division, first in the conference. I know everybody wants that, and I know it makes their standings going into the playoffs really important. But to me, the style of play that I'm seeing, even in a loss tonight, is a style that can bring you success in the playoffs, whereas a lot of times in past years, it has always been my beef with the Jets. The style of play that they play, I don't think the snake charmer route gives you success in the playoffs, so I like what I'm seeing. Ken, back to the defenses you wanted to talk about them.
Yeah, it's, to me, back to the time where I think it's time for the Jets to mix up the pairings again. And this time I'm not saying to put Neil Pionk with Josh Morrissey. I think it's time to put Dylan Sandberg together with Neil Pionk. I think it's very important for the Jets to reunite Nate Schmidt with Brendan Dillon. That's a pairing that had given them a lot of success. I know that they were split up to sort of try to spread the offense around a little bit. There were some issues for the Schmidt-Sandberg pairing this evening. That's going to happen on occasion. I'm sure it was one of those nights where Nate was a little extra jazzed to face his former team. There were some shifts, but those guys had a little bit of a tough go at times. That's 2 games in a row for Schmidt playing against a former team, so I'm sure things are going to probably settle down for him. I think he's had a much better start to the year this year. I think that we've seen Dylan Sandberg play well with Neil Pionk before. And I know that there have been times where I haven't really thought that Neil Pionk has been on top of his game, but I thought lately we've been giving him plenty of credit, Sean, and praise for how he's played. Today I didn't think he was moving quite as well on the back end, especially backwards. Obviously, some people think that he's banged up and hurt, and that is certainly possible. But regardless, I think it's time to reunite Schmidt and Dillon on the back end, and then put Pionk with Dylan Sandberg, put the UMD connection together, and then keep Morrissey and DeMello. But bigger picture, I mean, we've talked so much, Sean, about forwards prior to the deadline. I'm still starting to wonder if maybe the Jets might be in on the market for a defenseman at some point. I know that they will obviously have defensemen in the pipeline, and they're probably going to have to use 1 or 2 of them in order to get a player like a Bo Horvat or whatever forward they target, whether it's Ryan O'Reilly. I know a lot of people, Sean, have been asking us on Twitter or in private messages about people. We'll dig into that a little bit later on and down the road, but I think the Jets may have to look at a defenseman on the back end as well. I think, for the most part, their defense has been better than last year, but if the Jets want to win 4 rounds, they may have to consider a defenseman, unless they can stabilize things by shifting the pairings around.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what? We should probably wrap this up. Do you have any I've got some quick fire thoughts. Do you have any thoughts before we go?
I have lots of thoughts, but I think we've been talking about a lot of them. One quick one. We talked about the fourth line, and I wrote about them for sportsnet.ca. I posted the link to the column in the chat room. But also it was an important game for that third line to contribute again. Morgan Barron with the goal there. I thought he was moving around. That was an important job of getting to the net and sticking with it. Yeah, I mean, overall, Mark Scheifele was outstanding today. It's not often that a guy takes a question and answer for about 3.5 minutes and doesn't answer a question about his hat trick. But I don't think Mark was really that interested in talking about himself in a game where his team lost, so he wasn't asked about it. But impressive effort. Mark is continuing. Kyle Connor said this to me recently, or in one of those scrums. Mark's ability to score in different ways. You talked about it, the deflection, the one-timer, getting to the net with that great backdoor pass with the extra attacker goal. and the waning seconds of regulation. 3 different ways of scoring, and I think that's an important quality for Mark. Obviously, we know they're going to continue to need him, and he's been excellent. 18 goals on the season. Josh Morrissey is leading all defensemen in assists now. We should mention that. Yes, you talked about the shot. That's his 27th assist, Sean. 27 assists is a career high for Josh Morrissey.
In his 28th game.
Yeah, it's just absolutely wild. And boy, yeah, it's something else, and his season continues to be very impressive. But overall, I thought that Jets could have had. I mean, some people have been saying it. Some of the Jets snipers weren't at their best this evening. I think that's fair comment. But we'll see how they react, and see how many of those folks are the ones who are impacted by the flu bug. But they're going to need a little bit more when they play a hungry and desperate Nashville Predators team on Thursday to wrap up this homestand.
Yeah, I don't know where it is. Phyllis says she loves the reaction to Mike's post about tanking, Sean. I agree. I'm going to try and find this quick because I'm blown away by this. There we go. Mike McDonald says, Helly 2 below par games in a row, reverting back to a normal goalie. We can drop the Vezina talk now. It's over. Tank hard for Bedard. This spirals further and further and further out of control with every word. Like, tank hard for Bedard. I think they're second in win percentage in the entire conference right now, and it's like it would be hard to tank for Bedard at this stage. Like, I don't know how you would. Like, you'd basically just have to shut down everybody and lose almost every game going forward. Have you seen how bad the Chicago Blackhawks and the Anaheim Ducks are right now? Like, to fall that far, they've almost climbed too high to possibly fall that far. Anyways, I wanted to get some thoughts off. First off, Jansen Harkins. We haven't talked about him enough. Boy, oh boy. He has, I had a conversation with Brennan Dillon. Brennan Dillon talked about Bones coming in, Rick Bowness coming in and demanding kind of like different identities out of players. And one for Harkins was to be a third line kind of grinder, more that kind of player, third or fourth line grinder. Brennan Dillon didn't think he took to that idea too much. He's a young player who wants to become Mark Scheifele. Rick Bowness knows that sometimes guys can end up getting there, but the path for a lot of players, especially on a stacked team, is to start out being a grinder and learn that kind of game. Think of like Marchand. Brad Marchand started off as a grinder, started getting better and better and better, and now he's tied with Scheifele for the third most consecutive point per games in the NHL. That's how you get there, right? And I just think that Brendan Dillon said that he went down, handled it well, came back up, and has just really accepted his role. And I think this is what you're seeing from Jansen Harkins when he can be focused into playing a very specific role. Ken, you and I have seen him. He puts a lot of work into his game. When he was forward out of the lineup, he's always putting in the work. He's doing the stuff he needs to get back into the lineup. He's focused that attention and that energy, and I think it's paying off. He had another great night tonight. He's giving the Jets everything they could want from him right now in the role they're asking for him. Just touch on it quickly. To your point about Schmidt, I don't know if it was jitters because maybe there's a little bit of a, especially with the Vegas Golden Knights. I know he played in that tournament with the Vegas Golden Knights. Original misfit. He had got that really nice catch that was all over the internet in that tournament in Vegas, that baseball tournament. So he's got ties that he has there. This kind of strikes me as being one of those situations where it's like that love of your life that you never quite got over comes rolling in, and you want to look good. You want to get a couple of Frank and the Boys suits from Vittorio Rossi and make sure you're looking your best when you see that person. Tonight I thought was not to beat up, but I thought that this was Nate Schmidt's worst game as a Winnipeg Jet. He had a rough night here tonight. He looked discombobulated to me. And then the last point I wanted to make, because I made this point on the show, I know people didn't like the point. I know you may not have liked the point. The call that didn't go on Pierre-Luc Dubois last game when he got, and everyone was saying that should be a penalty. And I was saying, if you're Pierre-Luc Dubois and you play this game and you get the calls you get, or you get away with what you get away with, then you have to expect every once in a while when it happens to you and you don't get the call, that's just part of playing that game. Well, I think I said it to you. He catches on a potential scoring chance. He catches Wild Bill and mugs him. bends him over backwards onto the ice right in front of the referee. The referee is watching and doesn't make the call. I have no idea how he got away with it, but to me, that hammers home the point of Pierre-Luc Dubois plays this game. He gets away with stuff he should never get away with. He gets calls in a very intelligent way, and there's lots of refs see that, and sometimes when refs see that, they're saying, you're not going to get the call this time, big boy. You can't get every call to go your way when you get as many calls that do go your way as Pierre-Luc Dubois did. And tonight, that mugging was a perfect example of that. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you to you, Ken. You knocked it out of the park. It's good to see you. I feel like you've been a little shy. You've been taking the small plates to the buffet as of late. Today, you took an absolute
just trying to share, everybody.
Tray.
Just trying to share. We've had guests the last 3 games. Just trying to share the air.
I'm telling you, you walked into the cafeteria and you grabbed the tray, and the lady went to pass you the plate, and you said, no, the tray will be fine. And you just filled up the tray and went at her. I absolutely love it. Chat room, you rocked it as usual. Thank you so much for doing what you do. And as I always say, if you appreciate the conversations we're having in these spaces, please appreciate the sponsors that keep these conversations going in these spaces and go out of their way to support the conversations going on in these spaces. For us, those sponsors are Vittorio Rossi, TransCanada Brewing, the Johnston Group, Lou Ferlin, Home Field, and Cambrian Credit Union. Thank you so much to them. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to end this with a little bit of a call out. Ken, our numbers dip during losses. And I got to say, for you fans out there who don't have the stomach to show up and talk about the game after a loss, give them a tug, and let's get back to talking hockey on wins and losses. We'll see you after the next game when the Winnipeg Jets play the Nashville Predators. Bye, everybody.